Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phil Switch. I'm Phil Carute, and I'm joined by my fearless co-host, Brock Tamarino. The Phil Switch podcast is brought to you by Sal's Tire Caps. Sal's Tire Caps. We've got you covered from trucks to cars to motorcycles. If you ride a scooter, we would rather not. Brock, another episode here. Special episode. We just mentioned Sal's Tire Caps. In studio today, we're going to have Sal. Apparently, according to our producer, he's on his way. So as soon as he gets here, he will be our guest for the show. We're excited about that. I've never actually met Sal in person. I think the only person that's met Sal in person is our producer. So, Brock, have you met Sal?
No, I haven't, to be honest. I don't even know that I've exchanged an email with him. I think you and the producer set all that up. So no, I've never met him. Never even talked to him on the phone. So,
all right, I think the producer kind of set it up. I might have. I mean, he sends me the copy for the ads I read every week. But other than that, no, I've never talked to him on the phone. No, and he hasn't. He never addresses me directly in the emails. It's always "here you go." And then it's whatever he sends. Sometimes it's ad copy. Sometimes it's apparently an email that he forwarded to me, thinking it was the ad copy. So anyway, very special guest. Apparently he's supposed to be here shortly. So he was actually supposed to be here already. So I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm stalling. He was actually supposed to be here 15 minutes ago. Producer called him. There's been no answer. So we're just assuming he's on his way. There's an interesting thing to talk about. So for the listeners out there, you feel free to call in. What do you think about punctuality? Because I know it differs in cultures. Some cultures, it doesn't really matter what time you show up. You know, if you say the party starts at 5, I show up at 7. You're still good. Some cultures, you're supposed to show up early. Some cultures, you're supposed to show up just a little bit late. What is punctuality? Brock, what's punctuality to you?
punctuality to me, I will say I like being there early. Now I don't like being there super early, but I think if you're there 5 minutes early, that's what I usually try to shoot for, because I'm afraid if I get there too early, then the other people aren't ready. You know what I'm saying? But 5 minutes. I shoot for about 5 minutes.
That I think 5 minutes is reasonable. That's about what I shoot for. And it just really depends on the schedule. Sometimes I'll tell people in advance, hey, I might not be there early. It might be like right on time because of other things I got going on. But I think for the most part, 5 minutes is pretty reasonable. Oh, we got a caller on the line right now. Joe, what do you think? What is punctuality to you? What is being punctual?
Hey guys, I'm going to be honest. You guys saying 5 minutes early, if I may be so bold. I like getting there. If say a gal and I are going on a date, and I'm going to be honest, in Joe's life doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, I try to take advantage of it. Not in that way. I try to capitalize on, I try to make the most of it, okay? And so I get there, I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to be at her place, pick her up around 5 o'clock. You can count on old Joe to show up about 4:30.
Wow. So a half hour early, you're talking half hour.
I like people to know, hey, I'm here. I'm interested in what's going on, obviously. I'm here. But not only am I here, I got here real early, so let's do this thing.
Is that ever off-putting to, like if you go on a date? Because I know, it's going to be a stereotype thing, but sometimes women take a while to get ready. So like if you're showing up a half hour early, she could still be, kind of in the process of getting ready. Does that ever happen?
More often than you think. I pull up, I get out. By the time I get up to the door, it's about 4:32, and a little knock on the door there. She'll usually open the door and ask, "What am I doing here so early?" which I usually respond, hey, anything you care about, you're going to show up early for. And then she usually, the gal usually say something like, "That's not really a saying," and I'm, that's just that's what I'm thinking. And sometimes, if I'm feeling hip, I'll be like, "That's what I'm throwing down," that's what I'm throwing down. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? I'm joking, of course, I'm joking, but I'll inevitably, most people don't like that.
So, Joe, let me ask you. And don't take this the wrong way, but so are you the type of guy, like, say I owned a store, right? And I told you, I said, hey, we open at 7 o'clock, and when I get there at 7, I'll get things around, and then I'll help you out. Are you the guy that's standing by the front door when I get there?
And if you're if you said you're getting there at 7. I'm going to be there at 6:30, walking up. I'll probably be at the door about 6:31. And if you're not there, I'll just kind of stand there waiting. I don't like bringing my phone up because, I'm interacting with you, or I'll be interacting with you. So, I'll easily stand there for 10, 15 minutes, just standing outside the door waiting, or 30 minutes if you really do get there at 7. And I'll greet you at your own door. It's who I am.
Does anybody ever tell you that's a little annoying?
Oh, I mean, sure, yeah, but I mean that's punctuality to me. That's what being punctual. They call me Punctual Joe.
Do they really?
Not really. No, they don't. That's just something I kind of had in my head just now.
All right, cool. So Joe, 30 minutes. Okay, that's punctuality to you. So Brock and I are sitting at 5. Sal is now sitting at like 22 late, and Joe, you're at 30 early. So, okay, 5 early, 30 early, 22 late. Okay, thank you, Joe. Next callers, Kenny. Kenny, what is punctuality to you?
Hi there, guys. Punctuality is a real important thing to me. I was wondering when I was growing up, I had an uncle. He always said, if you're not, he said, Kenny, if you're not early, you're late. So, I try, I heard the other guy there say he was about 30 minutes early. Now that's a little bit too early. I got there early one time and my uncle was like, you're too early, and he was using the restroom, and so I was waiting outside the restroom. He said, you start outside the restroom, Kenny? I said, I start outside the restroom. I saw it. He's like, well, that's too early. I said, well, you always said, if you're early, you're on time, or late or something. And he's like, no, Kenny. I said, if you're on time, you're late. I said, well, hold on, because I thought you said if you're early, you're late. He said, no, I said if you're on time, you're late. I said, well, what time should I be here then? He said, well, he's sitting in the restroom still with the door closed. He said, well, if you're about 5 or 10 minutes early, that's about just right, Kenny. I was like, oh, well, crap. Are you sure you didn't say if you're early, you're late? And he said, no, Kenny, I didn't say if you're early, you're late. I said if you're on time, you're late. I said, well, that don't make sense either, because if you're on time, you're on time. He said, no, you're late. And so I try to get there about 10 minutes early in where I'm going.
10 minutes. All right. That was confusing because I think you did say that he said if you're early, you're late, but if he didn't say that, then you're confused. Okay. Thanks, Kenny. Thanks for coming on and enlightening us there. Next caller. Hold on. Before we go to the next call, let me check in with the producer. Do you know where Sal is at? Is he coming? Because we're already kind of well into the show here. Okay. All right, he said he thinks Sal's still coming. He hasn't heard anything yet. So, next caller, Jacob. Jacob, what is punctuality to you?
Oh, hey there, guys. Jacob here. Not Jacob. Some people think it's Jacob. It's actually Jacob. Jakob. Jacob. Yeah, the punctuality thing, I gotta say I'm a little more laid back. The last guy there, a little confused, but I think I got the gist of what he's saying. If you're on time, you're late. I've heard that before. Old Jacob here, I don't try to stay so hard and fast to the rules there. I like to be early if I can, of course, God knows, but if the good Lord's with me and everything's going well, I suppose I try to shoot for just a couple minutes early, somewhere in between. I don't want to say a hard solid 5, but I say anywhere from 4.5, 4.75 to maybe 2 minutes early. I like to get there. That's reasonable for 4.75 to 2 minutes early. That's a reasonable time. You ever been late anywhere, Jacob? Oh, yeah. Oh, mercy. Yeah. I mean, good Lord knows I try to get around. I try to follow the good Lord in the scripture, but every so often, you get a little behind in things.
Does punctuality have anything to do with scripture?
Oh, I just think probably. All right. So we'll mark you down for, let's just split the difference there, somewhere around 3.5, 3.25. Yeah, I see that's about right then. All right. Thank you, Jacob. Is he coming? Producer's telling us to just continue. Hey, Tactical Tim. Tactical Tim called in. Tactical Tim, what is punctuality to you?
Hey guys, punctuality to me, it's kind of on a, what do they call that? I don't want to say a sliding scale. That's not really that's not what I'm thinking of. I can't get it from my head to my mouth. That's what she said. But what is punctuality to me? I think, so I usually look at things, as you guys might guess, as tactical operations as far as timing goes, right? So punctuality, if we're going to start a mission, we have an operation that's starting at 9 o'clock. What some people fail to understand is that 9 o'clock is not when we start. 9 o'clock is when the mission goes into effect. So if you say 9 o'clock, boots on the ground, 9 o'clock. But the prep time can be variable, right? So I like to use maybe a 2-3 hour prep. So if I'm talking to my guys, I'm like, boots on the ground, 9 o'clock, but prep time 6 o'clock. So, we have a 3-hour window there between boots on the ground and prep time. So if you're saying, well, when are you at the mission? Well, we're at the mission at 9 o'clock. Boots on the ground, 9 o'clock. The guys, the first sole of the boot hits at 9 o'clock. But prep time, or pre-mission time, 6 o'clock. So the first sole on the ground is 9 o'clock. If 6 o'clock is the prep time, would you show up at 6 or just before 6? How early do you show up for that? All right. So first sole on the ground, 9 o'clock, right? Prep time. You got to think about this, guys. Prep time involves, we have to make sure that all of our weapon platforms are ready to go. Right? We have our edge weapon platforms got to be ready to go. We have our firearm platforms. They have to be ready to go. We have our various other pieces of gear, equipment that'll help us through that mission, accomplish the mission at hand. But then you also have things where you want to make sure that everybody's in a position where it's 6:15, we're already going. We're already, we're already running and gunning, as we say, 6:15. And, I want to make sure, hey, I'm not going to use your real names. Hey, broski, do you have Jimco's 6? Broski will say, I've got Jimco's 6. And I was like, do you really know what that means for this mission, though? And broski will have to take some time. Real name isn't broski. That's kind of more like a douchebag type of thing. But broski, do you know what that even means in the context of the mission? And broski will think about it. He'll break it down in his brain. This 6:15 that's happening. I'm asking that question. About 6:20, he's coming back to me and saying, TT, Tactical Tim, I didn't know what having a 6 on this mission meant. And that's when I have to break it down. I was like, listen, I know it's early, but we got to break it down to basics. Having his 6 on this mission is the same as having his 6 on every other mission, right? You've got his 6. And then broski will come back about another 5 minutes later. He's like, what you said, TT, was really impactful. It really made a lot of sense. I feel like I'm more prepared for this mission. let's run this another 2 hours. And at that point, I know that we're starting to break ground. We're going to be ready at that 9 o'clock, boots on the ground, real life running and gunning type of stuff.
So, yeah, so boots on the ground, running and gunning at 9 o'clock. So do you guys just show up like at 6, like right at 6 o'clock for the prep time then?
Well, that's kind of that's the funny thing and the thing that's hard to explain, right? Because, we're looking at maybe like 6:30, 6:45, and we've got Broski, who now understands that, dude, I just got to break this down to basics, like getting what is his name? Joski, that I called him, or Joko, whatever. Getting his 6 in this mission is going to be the same for the next 3,000 missions. It's always the same. So yeah, practice running and gunning. We're hitting that hard from about 6, right around that time, until, oh gosh, it depends how far away the objective point is, right? So let's just say it's a closer objective point. So we're running and gunning until about 8. And then our boots are on the ground, first soul hitting the ground, running a gun in real life, 9 o'clock.
Okay. So 6. Okay. You start your thing at 6 and then you start the real thing at 9. That's cool. All right. Thank you, Tactical Tim. Appreciate that. And thank you for letting us know that getting someone 6 on one mission is the same as 3,000 other missions. We appreciate that. All right. Thank you. So our producer, not gonna have Sal this week. Apparently our producer did get a hold of Sal. Sal is actually in Texas. Sal stated that all he knew is he got invited to a podcast. Apparently he said he thought it was a real podcast, so he thought it was the Joe Rogan podcast. So he booked a flight to Texas, which isn't where we're at. Does he even know where Joe Rogan's studio is? Producer didn't ask him. So he just booked a flight to Texas because you called him, right? And you told him it was for the Phil Switch, the podcast he sponsors. Our producer did, in fact, tell Sal it was for the Phil Switch, sent him an email and also a follow-up text yesterday. And apparently Sal responded, "Yep, got it." All right. I would say that we'll book Sal for a future show, but I don't know that that's going to happen. Anyway, as always, guys, thanks for listening. Make sure to check out my other podcast, The First and 15th, which I co-host with Cap over at Kaplowitz Media. If you guys want to get a hold of us, you can do so through contacting us through email. That's thephilswitch@gmail.com. Again, that's thephilswitch@gmail.com. We wish you all a great week, and we'll talk to you soon here at The Phil Switch.